The next day began with another factory visit. Some of these were a real pain, but at least these guys made an effort before herding us into the shops. I guess the real problem is that we would go into a factory shop, usually government owned, only to find the same things much cheaper in another shop. We all got a little suspicious about being ripped off. The silk factory was fun though, and we got to see a fashion show, and I got to try on some really cheap silk tops. Come on, Dad, it's only $120. Like I said, some factory visits were better than others. Following the silk factory, we were given a free 45-minute foot massage by students of reflexology. It was very nice. Doctors could tell everything that was wrong with you just by checking your pulse. Of course, I was perfect. One of the things we all marveled at was the traffic in China. It looked like chaos, but really it works well for the Chinese. It doesn't seem like they follow any kind of rules at all, which made it fun and scary to watch sometimes. Our journey through China continued with a flight to Jian, which is a beautiful city. Like the rest of China, it is changing very quickly, with lots of high-rise apartments going up all over the place. Our first visit was to the city wall, which was rebuilt in the Ming Dynasty. It runs for about 12 km and is the best preserved city wall in China. In recent times, new gates were added to allow for modern traffic, but it is still really impressive. On the day of our visit, there was lots of entertainment for the tourists. The wall was built to protect the city from invaders. Now it has to cope with crazy people in charge of dangerous weapons. Trust me, this is Mum doing well. We nearly killed people on that wall. Of course, Jian is most famous for the Terracotta Army, which was uncovered by this man in 1974. He didn't like being photographed, but Dad tried anyway. The emperor who built the army was called Emperor Qin, and this is actually part of his tomb, which is really massive. He is famous here in China because he was the first emperor ever. He formed his empire by conquering all the places around him in 221 BC. But he was obsessed with living forever, and so he built his tomb in Terracotta Army to serve him in the afterlife. This is not all of the tomb. The Chinese don't want to dig up any more because it is really hard to keep the colour of the statues from fading once they are uncovered. Still, this whole place was already big enough for me. Our next stop was a museum, which is where the earliest known remains of humans are found, the Bampo village. These are the remains of people who lived 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. This museum was almost as old. But seriously, they are building a new one, so all we got to see was a small part of the exhibition. That night, we watched a concert of traditional Chinese music and dance. It was awesome. The next day we visited an art school where we were shown techniques of Chinese art and then expected to demonstrate the often anticipated technique of opening our wallets. Our guide was nice though, and he printed our name in Chinese for free. Next stop was the Big Wild Goose Pagoda, which was built in 652 AD to store the teachings and statues of Buddha, brought to China by a Buddhist monk and traveller. It has its name because the monks living there had no meat and prayed to the gods for some. At that point, some geese flying overhead dropped to the ground and died. This shocked the monks, who decided to become vegetarian forever. And Miller and I thought we would try praying to the gods as well. Please let George take us shopping, please. Anyway, the view from the pagoda was really pretty. Our next stop was to one of the oldest Islamic mosques in China, which was built in 742 AD. This was built as a result of Islam being introduced into China by Arab merchants and travellers from Persia and Afghanistan. It was kind of weird looking at people while they were doing their prayers, but they didn't seem to mind. Outside of the mosque was a market, which is fun. The gods have answered our prayers, Miller. It is not all junk, Dad. Later that night, we went to an evening visit to a large fountain display, which was really cool. We went back into the city wall, which looked beautiful at night. Our local guide wanted us to see a night market where we tried a sticky rice dessert. It was fun.